Hi, my name is Phil Reynolds and I'm the CEO of DevStride. Today I'm going to spend just a few minutes giving you a brief tour of our system and talk about some of the reasons that we think DevStride can really help accelerate and mature the Agile practice inside of your organization. Let's get started. When we first log into DevStride, you'll see we're very conveniently presented with the My Work screen. The My Work screen gives me a unified list of everything that's currently been assigned to me, Phil Reynolds, across the entire Agile portfolio. So you'll see that in my particular case, I'm contributing to the marketing team and their Kanban boards, the engineering team and their Kanban boards, and the product team and their Kanban boards. From this one single list, regardless of where the work happens to originate from, I'm able to come in and make changes and edits and updates. So if I were to spend another hour on this design file, for example, I could come in and say from 9 hours to 10 hours, and the system will incrementally record that work for me and associate it back to the Kanban boards and projects where that work originated from. Next, we'll move on to the Notification Center in DevStride. You can see clearly from the UI that I have 2 outstanding notifications right now. If I click on my Notification Center, here they are. And if I have context for these, I can just open them up in line and see, okay, Aaron said, okay, if that's the case, let's leave it there for now. I happen to know what he was talking about, but let's say that, for example, I didn't, and I don't remember the context for this conversation, or I'm being mentioned for the first time in an ongoing thread. I can also click this icon here to immediately jump to the item, gain all the surrounding context, see all the other comments that are here, and jump immediately to the actual message where I was mentioned and where I need to participate and join this particular conversation. So it's a great way to receive notifications from all over the system, dialogues that are occurring from a variety of teams and initiatives all over your portfolio. DevStride's notifications are more powerful than just direct messages, though. We also have a preferences system that allows the system to send you automatic messages, as you can see here, when a variety of events occur. And those can be sent to both the Notification Center directly in DevStride, or for very high priority items, you can send them directly to your email. And there are separate settings for both of those delivery channels. As you'll see here in my case, I want to receive an email anytime a due date is approaching, arrives, or is overdue, directly to my email inbox because I want to be diligent about completing my work in a timely fashion. So DevStride's Notification Center gives you a fantastic way to collaborate as a team, to participate all over the portfolio, and also to opt in to certain notifications and alerts whenever events occur in the system that are relevant to you. Next, let's move on to how DevStride helps you manage Agile workflows. We have support for Kanban boards, which are a very common feature in systems like this. You put work in work items or cards, and then you take that work and you move it through stages in a Kanban to show that the work is moving through different progressions of done. In our case, we've set up a board here that has new, in progress, in review, and then done. And these lanes are all completely configurable. We also support then a view of this same work in a stack ranked list so that you can do explicit sort order priority to determine what's the most important. And in either of those views, the card view or the list view, you can click any one of these cells to automatically edit this value in line. So it's very, very quick to get in and use this user interface. The way this is designed to actually function then, you can set up multiple repeating cadences here under cycles, where you get a new board for a repeating time box. As you'll see here, our product team plans on a quarterly basis. And so you'll see this particular Kanban board belongs to my quarter 3 time box. And here you see the dates are right here. The system conveniently tells me I'm on day 86 of 92. I can step forward into quarter 4, which we are actively planning right now. And you can see sort of what things we're planning to pick up and kind of how we're estimating those and how much load we think the team would be under if we were to accept all of those commitments. So we enable you to do quarterly planning or like PI planning if you're in a scaled Agile shop. Then this work here can also be broken down into more refined, granular units of work, frequently called like stories if you're in a Scrum frame of mind. For example, my engineering team then here can show that in cycle 45, these are all of the stories that have been assigned to the team. And these stories roll then back up to those big roadmap items or epics that exist in my quarterly product plan. We have some additional features in here that are really nice where I can do things in this view, for example, like filter down to only the work that is been handed to Shind, for example, in my team. And you'll see that in the current sprint, Shind has 53 hours, plus or minus 8.3. If I back up to the previous cycle, he had 65 hours, plus or minus 15, so I know he was under a bit more load then. I can back up, several cycles to cycle 41 as he was under 67.8. So a really average workload for him is something like 67, 68 hours worth of total estimated time that he can likely complete. DevStride does have support, as you'll see here on the right, for tracking actual time spent on each of the items. We have support for PERT estimates, where you do a triangle estimate on your time to say optimistic, likely, and pessimistic. And then we also have support for story points, which lets you manage the entire team's velocity and throughput on a story point basis. And I have those turned off in this demo environment, but the system supports them. We additionally have support for Kanban boards that run on a perpetual basis, such as those you might manage for something like a backlog, where you're going to have a Kanban board, maybe there's stages to it, but you're not committing to the work in any particular time frame. You simply want to group it together and track it in one coherent list or board so that you can then take that work, as you can see I'm doing here, from my active backlog. I can right-click on it, and I can take the work from the backlog and assign it back over to one of my committed cycles in my product team. So it's a really handy and slick way for me to take things from a board that runs perpetually, such as a backlog, and then move it into a board that is scoped to some sort of a time box, such as a sprint or a quarterly plan or a program increment, where I am now committing to execute on the work. Now, this is where DevStride gets really interesting, because we're managing not only your Agile process through cycles and boards, but we have two separate data constructs running in parallel that help you manage your portfolio more effectively. The first we'll explore is our workstream map. This map allows you to take all of the activities happening across your portfolio and organize them by business value, completely independent of the Agile team frame or construct that is executing on and delivering that work. For example, at DevStride, we have these top-level functions. Familiar functions in most companies would be administration versus product development. Of course, administration breaks down into things like human resources, insurance, leadership, maybe take legal and see how legal breaks down into other activities, and eventually we break down into tasks, where in this particular case, these are all the tasks that are related to securing and writing and drafting and modifying our terms of use and privacy policy. Now, these tasks could be executed by any number of individuals, teams. They could be occurring in multiple boards in my Agile construct, but that work is still housed together in the functional work stream of terms of use and privacy policy, which rolls back up under legal, which now allows me, as I'll show you in a minute, to pull a report that lets me see what is the total amount of effort I've expended across all legal functions, regardless of what Agile team they were executed in, and what is the outstanding work remaining for legal, and am I getting a reasonable ROI on that spend? Of course, many teams are used to managing their product and engineering function through this kind of a lens. For example, you can see here that we have DevStride engineering, we have the design system, that is all of the UI components across all of our products, I have release management, I have a documentation team. And of course, if I go down to DevStride, you'll see where I have a section where I begin decomposing DevStride into units of business value. And this list here might look very familiar to you as being the same list as this navigation that you see over here on the left. I have broken down my work streams by the actual modules that I'm delivering inside of my software. So for example, we talked about boards earlier. You'll see that boards has at least 6 different areas where we're tracking individual discrete units of business value. And this workstream here represents the very first initial build of board capabilities in DevStride. And of course, I can click into this to see the actual epic where it was brought into my product team, and I can open up all of the stories underneath this epic where this epic was broken down into more refined units of work. So for example, I could open one of these up. I can see that Saad worked on this item back in cycle 24. He spent 4.3 hours on it. And of course, that could have been Saad from one team. It could have been someone from another team. These stories could be spread out all over my company. But by giving us this workstream map, I'm still able to pull them all back together and see overall what was the effort and the spend and the anticipated future spend for me to build out boards. And am I getting an appropriate level of ROI for that work? And I can see here that this work not only exists here in the workstream map, but also over here in the Agile team and board. Now, the value of this will become incredibly clear in a minute when we get to reports. But before we get there, I'm going to talk next about the third frame that we are managing the data in, which is the frame of Gantt Charts. Gantt Charts in DevStride are nothing short of a total revolution for teams that need to run an internal Agile process, but but they have customers or external stakeholders that are decidedly less agile. Here's how it works. We allow you to import work streams from anywhere across your map, from any board, from any cycle, and you import them into these portfolio level Gantts that you see here. Those portfolio level Gantts are incredibly powerful because they tie together work across multiple products, multiple teams, multiple value streams, such that you can see dependencies all over your organization, and you can see how a delay in any one portion or one program or one team will impact delivery in another team, and ultimately how those delivery delays will impact a key milestone that is immovable. Of course, as you share this progress with a key stakeholder, such as a customer or an executive, they frequently don't care about the same level of detail that perhaps the team needs to see. So we can collapse the detail and only show them the summary information. The Gantt initiative that is underway at DevStride is 72% of the way complete, despite us only being about halfway through the allocated timeline. So we're well ahead of schedule, and I don't need to go all the way into the details. I can see it very clearly in a simple bar graph that shows me progress against goal. You can do the same thing to manage complex implementations or very complex orchestrations across large enterprise objectives and initiatives that activate many teams across many work streams. We've come to the part that's the most exciting for me personally, because I believe hugely in data-driven decision-making. And most business managers want to make informed decisions about how to manage their team, but all too often we lack access to the data we need, especially when key decisions have to consider data from multiple teams or programs across a large portfolio. DevStride solves this problem handily with our analytics engine. It is the most powerful engine available in the market, yet it is so simple that any business user can navigate it easily. You'll see that on the left side of my screen, I have a list of common flow and progress metrics. At the top, I have access to a powerful filter bar that lets me drill into precisely the information I want to view metrics on. So let's do that together right now. Across my entire portfolio of work, let's focus in purely on DevStride Engineering. And inside of DevStride Engineering, let's see how many high and critical priority items there are. Beyond that, let's filter that down to purely high and critical bugs. And we'll see that since the beginning of tracking inside of DevStride, we have filed 42 high and critical bugs inside of DevStride, 3 of which are not completed. Now I can also then go down below, click on trending progress, see from the date from this year, and I can see month over month how my team is staying up with any high and critical defects. And you'll see that we've never had more than 3 higher critical defects open at once, which is in fact an OKR inside of our company. I can further explore things like custom cycle time, where I can measure the amount of time it takes my team to move an item from the in progress lane in a Kanban board down to the done lane in a Kanban board for all high and critical defects. And you'll see that our average time is 1 day, 7 hours and 9 minutes. And in fact, we have an OKR that says that we will keep this number under 2 days. So I'm able to make data-driven decisions and give my team real metrics and targets without needing an army of BI scientists, 4,000 Excel spreadsheets, or a complicated data pipeline. As a business user, I can go in, I can see what's happening, I can clearly and simply manage my team. It is absolute magic. There is so much more to love about DevStride, including a flexible automation engine, integrations with code versioning systems like GitHub, and even connectors to existing systems like Jira, Rike, or Rally. We understand that every organization is unique, and we lead with empathy and understanding so that we can be the genuine partner that you need over the long term. Thanks for taking the time to learn more about DevStride. We would love to hear more about your journey and explore ways we can help. Reach out to us anytime at info@devstride.com. We look forward to hearing from you.